I think one of the things that I've said several times about the English Premier League is the difficulty for landing teams to win the Premier League. I've said it several times, and in most of my analysis, one of the things I point to is the fact that for almost the rest of the cities and towns in England, they don't play as much London derbies as the clubs that play in London. So in London, you have Fulham, you have West Ham, you have Crystal Palace, you have Arsenal, you have Tottenham Hotspur. These clubs constantly battle it out, and we know what it takes to win London derbies, right? So this game for Chelsea was obviously going to be a tricky one for Chelsea Football Club. And again, see, one of the things about winning English Premier League games is that you don't always have to play the best football. In fact, for about 40% of the time, you don't have to play the best football. You just have to be playing well enough to score your goals. It is probably one of the most important things to do when it comes to the conversation of when you play in the English Premier League. It's important. And once Enzo Maresca went into this, I knew that this was going to be a game where Chelsea will win from an aggressive and physical point of view. It's not Debiana, you have to play nice football, tactical. Most times, ball be bringing tactics and tactical. It's about who wants it the most. And I think we've preached this over your house on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. There's a Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. It's your best place for football analysis, post-match, pre-match, everything. We have all our analysis here for all clubs. Of course, if you're a Chelsea fan, then you are the best place for the best of conversation. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notification. In the notification turning, do choose all, just so anytime there's content here, you are first to have it here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Of course, if you're an investor, then you go to the description of the video, description of this same video. The codes for today's games are there. A lot of them. We are giving you some chance to go and make some good money. Go and pick up those codes, put them in your betting account, and make good money here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. It's important that you get that done. Let's get straight to it. Just before we go, let's say a big thank you to the two people who have made the show a possibility. First off, to Yesumo Spare Parts Dealership Shop. I've said it several times. If it's about spare parts, it's about getting the spare parts for the best car. Of course, the latest cars, then it's Yesumo Spare Parts that you can go to. He is in Accra, Abose Okain Post Office. Abose Okain Post Office. That's exactly where he is. Go there and call Yesumo. Go there and then get your car fixed. If you are not in Accra, he does what he calls the nationwide delivery. Nationwide delivery. Take the number and call him right now. Call him on 059 313 8221. 059 313 8221. Call Yesumo now. Let him take very good care of you. Of course, if you want clothes, if you want apparel, if you want to look good, then where you have to go to is MOB Clothing. MOB Clothing. That's where you have to go to. They got the best of clothes, slippers, slides, Birkenstock, everything that you need to wear to look dapper. It's at MOB Clothing that you can get those stuff from. So, I mean, just go to MOB Clothing at Tudu, the Flower Station at Tudu. A flower station at Tudu, they'll get you the best stuff for you. Of course, if you are not there, so you want whether wholesale or retail delivery, they do that for you. Call them on 0200 668 708. 0200 668 708. Go there and let them take very good care of you, just so everything becomes fine over here. Let's get straight into the conversation. See, it was a big game, and I think that every Chelsea fan will be excited, very excited with the important win that Chelsea have gotten. People will finish the game and will talk about maybe the quality of the game in itself, how well Chelsea played. Maybe Chelsea did not play well. But then the most important thing is the win. I will explain to you tactically. I will explain to you in-depth analysis why. And I will explain to you why this is probably one of the best games that Chelsea will get. Last season, in this same fixture, Chelsea lost the game by 2-1. They went up by 1-0, could not manage the game in the second half, and then there was a problem. Again, we all know how Chelsea have started this season from the injury point of view, where there have been loads of injuries that have been affecting the club. Some very important players in the team. I'll tell you about some of the other things as well. But of course, Chelsea have to make sure that they go on and win this one. I think that it was a little bit gloomy in that game against Crystal Palace when Crystal Palace came to Chelsea and then shut up shop, played very compact. and made it very difficult for Chelsea to play through them. Not anything. And it was as if, Charlie, how are Chelsea going to get this done? Can they play through these teams? Can they get a job done? And how are they going to get this job done? So it was always difficult in that regard for Chelsea Football Club. How are they going to get that done? Now, post Crystal Palace, in fact, more of the things that we said was that when it comes to being on the ball and then trying to hold on to the game, Chelsea have been good. They have been very solid in that regard, and they don't have a problem. But the bigger problem has been in how Chelsea can make sure that they break down low blocks. And of course, I think that this season, one of the things that every Chelsea fan will dread is the fact that when teams go to Stamford Bridge, they will make it difficult for Chelsea. They will play in a 3-2-5 of a sort. They will play in a 5-2-3 of a sort. Compact, coagulates the middle of the park. And then again, one of the things that they will be able to do is that they will press you in times where they have to press you, win the ball in transit and make it difficult for you. It was clear against Crystal Palace. But I've said several times that when you look at Enzo Maresca, he is the kind of guy that constantly wants to find solutions to the games that he plays. And I think that in games like this against Fulham, like I was saying, it is purely down to who wants it the most. It is purely down to moments. Let me say it like that. Because there were moments in the game where we felt that Fulham were in total control of the game, were probably going to win. They were in absolute control of the game and they were getting the job done. Then something switched, something turned around, and Chelsea managed to get the win in that regard. So it was always going to come down to those moments. It was always going to come down to certain decisions making. And if Chelsea were going to take their chances, plus the preparative part of the game. Very important stuff over there. Again, when you look at this game, Fulham had gone into 2 games, 2 draws. The last time out against Manchester United, it was not an easy game. It was a game where Fulham really showed themselves. They told Manchester United that they are good enough. In fact, before this game, Marco Silva had told Chelsea and then the reporters that he knows exactly how Enzo Maresca plays. So he will press, he will be aggressive, he will turn the ball over, and then he will get the transitions, he will score from there. That is exactly what Marco Silva told the press about how Chelsea plays and how he intended to go in behind it and then get a job done. So it was such a clear-cut plan from Marco Silva. It was such a clear-cut plan from Fulham, and then they knew exactly what they wanted to come and do. So if you watch the game, it was a difficult one. Again, I think that if you look at the starting lineup that Enzo Maresca went into this game with, he went into this game essentially with the quality of how he wanted to play, how well he wanted to do his things. Very difficult style of play. Enzo Maresca went into it with Liam Delap. He went up top, having Liam Delap centrally. Joao Pedro, Estevao Willian, Pedro Neto, and of course, Malo Gusto started again. And I think that as much as Chelsea wants balance in that back line, constantly Gusto is going to start because Enzo Maresca still doesn't believe that regimes can go up and down the touchline. So he is going to start with a certain Malo Gusto to keep the width, push Estevao Willian inside, and then of course in the middle of the pack have Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. Then in the back three has Marco Correa, has Trevor Justin Adrebi as a CCB, and Trevor Chalobah at the back line for him. I think, once the game started, it was difficult for Chelsea to settle because Fulham were being aggressive and everybody knew that the game was going to be difficult. In these games, you need to win your duels. It is as simple as that. It doesn't even need any extra explanation. It's about duel winning. It's about being aggressive. And it's about taking your chances when they come because it's purely a derby. And what it means is that in 3 games, Chelsea have 7 points. They are unbeaten before the first transfer window. That is hugely positive for Chelsea Football Club and Enzo Maresca. Hugely positive. When Liverpool and Arsenal have played 2 games, they have not lost any of them. They are going to play against each other tomorrow. When you are going into the transfer window and then you are unbeaten and you have 7 points, that's to the extent that whoever loses that game, you go on top of them. If it ends in a draw, it means that you are joint top with them. It tells you that you're in the right direction. So it's so simple because, and I mean, I'm hammering on this because I know that a lot of people who have a problem with the style of play, especially in the first half, how Chelsea really did not fit in. I think that the team have been put through some serious tests since the season began that a lot of people have not spoken about. One, just before the season began, Chelsea played very tough game against Crystal Palace. And I've explained before that that Crystal Palace game was really, really difficult. Difficult in the sense that Chelsea had not been at a place where they had been sort of the best, and they are now being haunted. Like Chelsea had not been that before. Chelsea had been a team that had been low on the ground, and then now, like they go and snatch it from the big boys. Now in this game, you have to be the main big boy. You are playing well. Everybody says, okay, you are world champion. They struggled against Crystal Palace. Then in the second game, you go away from home to West Ham United, and your most important player in Cole Palmer gets injured. Now, once Cole gets injured, it puts the team in some form of disarray. Now, Cole Palmer essentially is at the point where he wants to fully recover and play. The team is seeing their star man on the bench. Chelsea go into the game and win by 5-1. Then, in this Fulham game before the game, Fulham was the last team to have beaten Chelsea Football Club at Stamford Bridge before 2025, because in 2025 Chelsea has not lost a single game, and Fulham is the only London team to have that Chelsea have won less against in recent times. So it's always difficult. It's always tough. How are you going to navigate the game? And that's why I like Enzo Maresca's game plan. It was sensible. Play in Liam Delap to hold that play. Esteva will pick up the pieces from that area. Set pieces will be important for Chelsea Football Club. I remember mentioning it essentially because Chelsea, for the very first time in the last game, scored from a set play. How were they going to go and play in set pieces and get the results done? Because, like I've explained from last week, one of the things that Chelsea have done very well is the strength that they have now from set plays. How now they get a job done with respect to how they want to play that game. It has been super from Chelsea Football Club. And we all need, okay, how can Chelsea go in there and then get a job done when it comes to Chelsea Football Club? So setting that tone was excellent. Then the game starts. Chelsea are trying to settle and playing the game. And then, of course, first off, Liam Delap gets injured. I think that was a huge blow. See, when I was thinking of who had to come on, one of the first players I was thinking about was for Chelsea to bring in a certain Jamie Bynot-Gibson. But Enzo Maresca decided to bring in Tyree George rather, and then keep Pedro Neto on the left, and then play Estava off the other side, and then play Pedro Neto central. And I think that one of the things that Enzo Maresca did last season very well was to use Tyree George rather as a second striker. So in this game, he was rather the second striker, and of course, he was interchanging with Joao Pedro and the like. See, Joao Pedro, super important. Even before we talk about anything, Joao Pedro, very, very important player for Chelsea Football Club when it comes to how things are going on. I mean, he has been brilliant since he came on. I mean, 8 games, scoring 7 goals. That is pure quality display on all levels. Anyhow you look at it, I mean, Joao Pedro has proven to be one of the best players that Chelsea has signed in there. He gets the job done in there. And I like how Chelsea went into the game, especially when Joao Pedro came in. Now, it was about getting the mental foothold of the game. How can you mentally be at a point where you say, okay, fine. I mean, we are down with one of our main strikers. Cole Palmer is also injured. How can we now stay in the game to the extent that we'll get something from it? How can we make sure that at the end of the day, we can get something, we can win something out of the game? I like it. In fact, in the first half, it was difficult, especially in the opening half of the first one. It was very, very difficult for Chelsea. When I was watching the game, I was very, very worried. I mean, I was worried, especially in the first half when Chelsea were missing chances. But like I said, the first half was literally uneventful. Nothing exceptional happened until the first half really did finish over there. Like I said, the most important thing in that Chelsea team was the fact that Chelsea have now been physical to the extent that they can manage things. They can get involved. In fact, if you look at that Fulham goal that was disallowed, Trevor Chalobah was aggressive in time to step up. And that is how the player steps on his leg to even get that possible goal overturning. Because if he wasn't aggressive, you are not there. He turns, he faces you, he gets the goal. So that was good defending from Trevor Chalobah. And of course, some luck from Chelsea. In fact, when I was watching the game in real time, I felt like, Charlie, I deal with there and penalty and fouls. But then, of course, the referee gets in there and then got the job done over there for them. And I like exactly how Chelsea went on in the game to make sure that they were going to get a job done. Excellent style of play. And for me, see, once the game was going on, once the game was transiting, once the game began to get open, Chelsea began to pin Crystal Palace back. And in pinning Crystal Palace back, One of the best things that you can do is to make sure that you create the chances that you create, is to make sure that you have a proper foothold of the game. And for me, I liked it that way. When Chelsea were able to create the chances, having a foothold of the game, making sure that they got a job done. I loved it so much with respect to how Chelsea played their game. It was one of the best. I mean, staying in the game as long as possible. It wasn't too flamboyant. It wasn't the nicest game to watch. But then, of course, at the tail end of the game, Chelsea coming with a corner kick. See, a lot of teams have realized that Chelsea now are playing in short corner kicks. If you remember the Club World Cup, Chelsea played a lot of short corner kicks. And when they played in those short corner kicks, they ended up scoring. Now, teams have realized that Chelsea play a lot of short corner kicks. So what they do is that now when Chelsea are playing their short corner kicks, they know how to defend it. Then also they realize that Chelsea attack the first post a lot. So most of those teams also, what they've done is that they have dealt with overloading their first point, being more aggressive, and then getting the ball out in that area. That is exactly what they've done. But this is where Bernardo Cueva has earned his name. He has earned his name. And for me, he is a secret weapon. That's Chelsea's tactical statistician, Bernardo Cueva. He is the secret weapon to everything that Chelsea have been doing in the English Premier League, especially from set pieces. Because if Chelsea don't score that set piece, they don't get that advantage that they need and the confidence to go on for the rest of the game. But Bernardo Cueva has come in and he does an excellent job. Like I said, it was short corner kicks. Then they went for the first pool. Kukurea will flick. They will attack the first pool aggressively. In fact, Chelsea tried that twice. Now, in that goal that Enzo Fernandez scored, it wasn't by fluke. He wasn't playing another short corner kick. He wasn't playing another first pool ball over there. It was a game where Chelsea were purely, especially in that second ball, Chelsea were purely making sure that they just get a job done in terms of staying in the game as long as possible and then evading the opponent. So because the opponent, some people were talking about the fact that Calvin Bassey was too easy on that ball. Calvin Bassey was coming to defend the first ball. He wasn't defending the ball. He was coming to defend aggressively in the first ball, defending space. So being aggressive to attack the first ball, the ball, because Enzo Fernandez had attacked. So if you look at the setup, Bernardo Cueva has asked Joao Pedro to stay when Calvin Bassey and the likes go to, because they know that he will go and attack the first ball. Chelsea play with the first ball. So when Calvin Bassey goes to attack the first ball, Pedro Neto, should stay centrally. So he stays, the ball comes to him and heads home. And again, see, Pedro Neto is quality. Whatever anybody says, apart from the fact that in the first half, people will not talk about this, but Chelsea managed the games well in the first half, not playing too well. It was such a professional performance. And Fulham were very direct, they were aggressive. Chelsea struggled, but then it was professional performance. And they didn't stay in the game as long as possible. And then, of course, got in the job done over there. Again, once that got the first thing I went on, I tweeted was that set pieces again. And this time on Bernardo Cueva. Excellent player. Joao Pedro scores that goal in there. Quality display again from Joao Pedro. And once you see Joao Pedro centrally tiring and getting that goal, it relieves all the stress of Chelsea because, I mean, everybody was struggling. Enzo Fernandez was struggling. Caicedo wasn't getting a good game. Everybody was struggling. And when you look at the bench, you don't have that quality that you thought that, okay, you could have from the bench come and change the game. And then it was a huge one as well for them. Again, I think that Trevor Chalobah has grown to be an important player for Chelsea Football Club. And you just cannot even overstate it. He has grown to be such an important player for Chelsea Football Club in everything that he does. Everything that Trevor Chalobah has grown into. He has grown into be such an important player for Chelsea Football Club. How they played, how they went into games, how he making sure that he come in aggressive to win those. To the extent that today, Chelsea did not need to bring in a certain Wesley Fofana to come and play in the game, especially when Chelsea had to start the game. It wasn't in there. Of course, after the first half, there was a standard drop that since his Premier League debut in 9th April 2022, Moise Caicedo has been shown 5 more yellow cards than any other player. Very, very aggressive. In fact, in the first half, the statistics was not purely the best. Chelsea had 1 goal. Fulham had not scored. An XG of 0.89, XG of 0.3, and the game was close. 6 shots from Chelsea, 5 from Fulham, 3 on target from Chelsea, 1 from Fulham, 55% ball possession, 45% for Fulham. So obviously, it was very, very clear that that was a closely contested game from Chelsea Football Club. And how they were going to win the game, how they were going to manage to stay in the game and then get the job done was a big deal over there. And again, like I said, it was a purely professional performance from Chelsea. I mean, getting the job done, making sure that they stay in it, uh, get the results over there, and then stick in it as long as they have to do. I think that was a brilliant one. Of course, when you look at Chelsea, these are the games, these are what make the difference when you play games like this and get a job done. Then in the second half, I think that that's where Enzo Maresca wears the Italian managerial cape again. That's brilliant again for him. Pinning Fulham back again, being more aggressive, providing solutions for his team. And I think that is something that Enzo Maresca does that he is underrated with. He is underrated with that. He provides a lot of solutions, especially in the second half. And that's exactly what Chelsea would see. In the second half, they were not good enough. I mean, it just have you have to get a job done. Like I said, when you look at the Chelsea games that they played in the first three games, there is no glamour. It's not too nice. It's professional. It is really professional in the win that Chelsea got away from home, to the extent that Fulham wanted to come into the game and then win the game the way they won. But then Chelsea came into the game this time, and then Chelsea have managed to get a job done. And that's exactly how it is. Close call, tight game, and then you go into it, you get a job done. Enzo Fernandez has provided more assists than any other Premier League player across all competitions in 2025. Top creator from Enzo Fernandez. And I think that it has been very, very brilliant from Chelsea Football Club in managing of the game, where they play their game. And we're going to see exactly how it went. Of course, at halftime, it wasn't too good for Enzo Fernandez. You could tell that he wasn't happy. Joao Pedro looking more like top two best value signing for Clear Lake era already. As a number 10, his teammates are feeding, of course, the rubbish which he's doing well to make the useful build up with his body and back to goal. And then he shows his ability to dominate the box. Of course, when the lap goes in, I think that is excellent stuff from Joao Pedro. I've said it several times. He is such an important player. I mean, he essentially rocks my world. And Chelsea have gotten the most important 3 points of the season. When you are going for the international breaks like this, it's about winning. It's about really, really getting the job done, winning and then transiting from there and then getting the job done. We'll see exactly how Chelsea are going to pin from there. When it comes to the quality, Caicedo steps up in there. Defender blocks naturally in the bigger box. VAR, you are having one, of course, when it comes to Pedro handballs in the box. Of course, a lot of people say that there was a handball of Joao Pedro in the ball before. I don't think so. I think that the Chelsea's edge of the box and box defending game has been top. When it comes to edge of the box, the offside traps, the plan to stay in it and stuff like that, it has been brilliant from Chelsea Football Club. And they have gotten the job done. I mean, all across the face of goal. If you look at everything that Chelsea have played, I think has been an excellent game from Chelsea Football Club. Really getting into it, making sure that they go in there and then get a win as much as possible. That is all that mattered. That is all that mattered in that game. So go into the game and then make sure that you get a win as much as possible. And of course, after you get the win, you grow in there from there. I mean, you grow in quality, you go in stature, you go in style of play. It has been very, very brilliant from Chelsea Football Club. Second half, it was more of the same. Enzo Maresca managed the game. 3 points and then off to the international. Congratulations to Chelsea Football Club. Congratulations to almost all of the boys that got a job done today. And for me, I think that it has been such an excellent display from Enzo Maresca and his charges to go again after the international break. That is excellent. That is, I mean, when you look at the quality of Chelsea, how well they want to play, how they have been able to play, and the number of points that they have been able to garner. Like I said, it is not the most flamboyant win. It is not going to be the most flamboyant win. It's essentially a very, very difficult game in there. I want to look at how Chelsea went into it. But again, the most important thing is getting it. And tactically, Chelsea were very much astute. Very, very much astute. I mean, that's regard. And at first half, I think that in the first 30 minutes, everyone was half asleep. Like I said, Chelsea had not put their foothold on the game. Technical quality was really poor. And then Chelsea were losing the second balls a lot. It was worrying in the first 30 minutes. Then I think Chelsea became one of the things that Enzo Maresca is beginning to plan. That's also part of his secret plans One of the ways that Enzo Maresca looks like he wants to play this season is that he doesn't want to shy away from being direct. Last season, Chelsea were playing a lot through the thirds, constantly to play combined play and stuff. It looks as if with Liam Delap, one of the things Chelsea want to do very well is that if they have the chance, they go long, they go direct, and that's what they did today. Spacing is suffering because of it, and Fulham are able to attack in transitions and big spaces and midfield, and fewer bodies are prepared to counter press for that regard. Like I said, the improvement in set pieces for Chelsea has been huge. That's a huge breakthrough. In fact, I think that's been the best part of Chelsea's season so far, with respect to the breakthroughs and how Chelsea are playing out from there. And again, once the first half was done, it was about how Chelsea were going to manage the game at full time. Joao Pedro, of course, man of the match, like I said, unbelievable player all round. I mean, scoring from set pieces, defending set pieces, receiving the pockets of space, linking up play, especially in the absence of a certain Cole Palmer. He has been there. He has been right there. That stood out to account. And again, I said that Malo Gusto's best form is when you play him with that tactical flexibility for him to push up the field. Today, he's playing more like a winger on the ball and off the ball, allowing Chelsea to change shape when you need him to be flying forward, becoming more fluid centrally. I think that Malo Gusto deserves a lot of credit over there. And of course, still that CB pairing, which is not Chelsea's first choice of Tosin and Chaloba, seems to be going. It looks as if Enzo Maresca will be patient in throwing in Wesley Fofana to get him to go. A few moments in the first half where it was a little bit of stray passes, but again, 3 points is what is the most important thing at the end of the day from Chelsea Football Club, and they have gotten exactly what they were looking for. 3 points. Nothing else have mattered than 3 points today. Like I said, not pretty, not nice, just 3 points as Chelsea have to get a job done over there. Chelsea are press high, definitely been interesting tactical perspective for Chelsea. That's because Fulham can cause some issues when Chelsea press a little too high with their 4-2-4. They have an excellent 4-2-4 shape that they play through teams a lot of the times. A lot. They'll play through you, they'll find the spaces, and they'll get a job done. And Fulham was good against Chelsea's high press. I think so too. Marco Silva instructed Bassi and Anderson to split very, very wide. Ben Leno could find Sander Berg, and Alex will be dropping this, come and receive. And I think that was very, very good gameplay from Marco Silva and his staff in terms of tactically setting up that Fulham team to be able to play in that regard. But of course, after that, Chelsea were obviously going to be the most dominant, be able to find spaces and, of course, create chances to get a job done. So, I mean, I think we'll draw the curtain here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Thank you very much for coming here. And it was a good 3 points for Chelsea Football Club. We'll see you later in the day. Bye-bye.